I grew up in Vermont. It was a wide open space. I was particularly interested in dinosaurs, and I was lucky enough to grow up in a place where my dad was happy to take me to the hardware store, and we had lots and lots of space, so I could make these huge sculptures out of chicken wire and metal and wood of life-size dinosaurs. Well, with Shi-Zheng, the thing that you really can do, and that is really exciting for me to work with him, is to bring a super sculptural element. He's very interested in new materials. He's very interested in taking costume to a whole other level, and bringing sort of a sense of the contemporary into costume. And that is, costume's one of the places where you tend not to do that. You see sets that are done that way quite frequently. But costume is just a little more traditional, and it's on the human body, and people are moving around. It's a little harder to, dress people in aluminum screening and have them go out on stage and have that all be okay. But the funny thing is, it's a really famous story that has, that I never think of what would be a good equivalent. It's something that people have gone back to because it's so part of the canon as part of the no theater. So one thing that I particularly love about this piece is it's based on a Zen koan, and it's this idea of one woman and her two sides of her mind, two sides of her consciousness. So one side, the basic story is she had this lover and he left. And in the true story, he actually had to go back to court. He was recalled to court. And in this story, he actually dies. But here she is, hundreds of years later, roaming the beach, still trying to find him. And in Buddhism, the idea is you can't ascend to heaven if you have earthly desires. And so she's been sort of walking this beach for hundreds of years, in the original story for 300 years. And now, if we tell it in a contemporary sense, for almost 1,300 years. So she encounters a monk and a fisherman, and they both sort of say to her, well, what are you doing? Like, give it up, let it go. She's affiliated with the pine tree, Matsukaze, because she's pining, but constantly, for this lover who's lost 1,000 years ago. So one of the things that Shi-Zheng was very interested in doing was making a distinction between these two sides of her consciousness, and they're typically called sisters. So it's as though two sisters. One sister, her character is very given over to letting go, and the other sister is considered sort of crazy and not able to release from this desire, this passion. And so what was interesting with the costumes was to find a way to distinguish between these two senses of the same woman and this conflict that this one woman really had going forward with her, so-called life. Was she going to be trapped as a ghost for eternity, or was she going to be released? And so capturing that in the costumes, it was an interesting thing to do, to take a very similar garment and construct it in such a way that these characters just totally came across.